What is up, everybody? We're going to be jumping into this video right here. This is going to be a merging issue. We talked about this briefly in the full crash compilation video, but I think it's very important to kind of go over this one. So it didn't seem like it was very much of an issue, right? It didn't seem like we were dealing with, a life and death situation, but kind of we were, because the problem is that if we get into a crash, we're in a bad spot because we don't have a ton of protection. And that's why we are supposed to be acquiring and using personal protective equipment and then rescuing each other just in case there's a crash. So grab some gear. There's some links in the description for Revzilla, but we're going to jump right into this one right here. So we're here. We're like, okay, they're going to go ahead and stay in this lane. Okay, so remember, when we talk about planning our ride, and that's what we're really focusing on when it comes to these after action reviews, is that we need to constantly just keep putting ourselves in a good position for safety, which is basically a position for success, because it's going to allow you to have more time. It's going to allow you to have better vision. You're planning your escape routes. And since you're constantly reevaluating the situation, you're putting yourself in an oriented state. You're grounded to the situation. You're grounded to the reality of what's happening here. And that's being in yellow stage. You're zoned in. So it's really good when it comes to planning your ride. Okay. So locating hazardous situations. We know that intersections, like this person right here is coming out, is a hazardous situation. We have a sign right here. It's an orange sign. It is letting you know something's happening. And guess what? It's an intersection coming up. So we should be prepped and ready for orange stage anyways. And what we do with orange stage is that we are covering those brakes. Okay, covering that front brake, covering the rear brake with our foot. We're also looking for those escape paths from maybe engine braking just a little bit, and that's going to allow us to have some weight on that front tire. So if we have to make an emergency swerve, we can do that with more weight on that tire. So right here, we have kind of the side of the vehicle. Okay, if we want to go back just a little bit. So we got the side of the vehicle. We've got the side of the vehicle right here. Okay, so we see that. That's a possibility of this person just saying, hey, I'm going to go all the way into the trees. Well, it's going to be in our path because we're coming into here. They're supposed to go in that first available lane, but they decided to go into the turn lane. Okay, not a bad deal, but we see this pretty well ahead. We do have a vehicle in our mirror, so we can't necessarily just cut this person off to allow this person in. So what we might have to do in this situation is roll off that throttle for engine braking, maybe do some progressive braking, because they're going to want to come in and they're going to go. But the main thing here is that we're prepping ourselves for them just taking that spot. Okay, we're not just saying, hey, we're going to roll up the throttle and apply progressive braking so that they can get in. That's what I like to do. That's defensive driving. But we're doing it anyways because if they decide to take it, we're already prepped for it. That's the main thing, is that we're already prepped and primed and positioned for safety. Okay, so right here, oh, it looks like they went over that line. So we definitely need to be doing something. So now that our position is closer to them, we don't have the massive space cushion that we originally had. Now we have an area where we can swerve right. Hey, the truck's in our mirror still. We can, go straight, might collide with the back of this truck. What do we do? Well, this is where we have to be really good with our braking. Okay, we practice smart rider drills, we practice slow speed stuff, but at the end of the day, you need to practice your braking. So just all it is progressively, just squeeze until you have some weight on that front tire, and then you can squeeze even quicker, but it's still smooth. It's not a smash from 10 to 1. It's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can do that quicker and quicker with more practice. So right here, it's like, okay, we kind of have an escape path. It looks like they kind of see us because they would have taken that whole lane. Kind of weird, but we still should be slowing ourselves down because we're buying ourselves time. It's going to get to a point where everyone's kind of slowed and it almost comes to the stop and like, what are we doing? I'd rather do that than go like, boom, what happened? If that makes sense. I'd rather us be like, what are we doing here? Still annoying, but that's just life. So at this point, it looks like they saw us. That's why we put our hand up and now we can start yelling. We still are way too close. Well, if this person's like, hey, there's a vehicle right in front of them in that turn lane that we didn't see because our line of sight is terrible. And they're going to hit them. So they're just going to jump right out and just take the lane. They're like, screw it, making a decision, going out. We're too close. I don't like this. So what I'm doing, and I know it's kind of slow moving right now, is I am going to slow down as much as I possibly can to where it's safe. I'm looking into my mirrors. Nobody's going to hit me. I am putting myself in a new position for safety because I located this as a hazardous situation. This is a relevant threat because now we're just in traffic, not moving, and we have to navigate something. So I am slowing down. Hurry up and get in, get out of here, go, go, go. Or if I see that they're going to go back in their lane, which is what happens, and we're gonna go and see that right now. As soon as I see that, I'm accelerating. I'm accelerating, not like that, not that far. I'm accelerating to get myself out of here. There is an intersection coming up, so all I'm doing is I'm accelerating to this point until I'm in front of him, and then I'm rolling off the throttle. So acceleration, deceleration. Prepare for that body weight transfer, because I am prepping now for this intersection coming up, and I don't want to get too close to this vehicle or this vehicle. So I'm just trying to accelerate. That's a little too much. I'm going to try to accelerate to here, and then I start to slow it down just a little bit up here. That's what I'd be doing. All right, guys. So what we're gonna be doing is going into the parking lot. We're gonna be practicing with our Smart Rider drills. This is gonna be something we do every single day. We're gonna be doing the righty-tighty, so grab your bike, whatever it is, and head out there, bring some snacks. I'm hungry.
What is up, everybody? Today we're going to be doing the righty-tighty. It's just like the lefty-loosey, but opposite. We're gonna be doing 3 right turns, wide, a little bit narrower, and then narrow. Okay, that's the whole point of this. And so if you want to practice your right-hand turns, which a lot of people have trouble with because it's the throttle side and you get kind of close in there and it gets a little awkward. So this is a great practice to get that hand movement and hand placement down. And what we have is these 3 cones. So we're gonna go on the outside. Okay, nice wide arcing turn. And then we're gonna go in between these cones right here. And then this one, we're gonna have to get in between here. So head and eye movement, turn those handlebars, and then accelerate out through the cones. But you can also stop at the cones. It's a great practice for your stopping and starting and your braking skills. So you can do that also. So let's go ahead and do that one more time, and then we'll go ahead and get through it. We'll stop on this one. How about that? All right, so going around the cones, all of them. And then we're gonna go in between these cones and get ready. Head and eye movement, maybe use a little bit of rear brake. There you go, head and eye move. Counterweight, turn those handlebars and go through. Now we're actually gonna stop. There we go, stop at these cones and practice your progressive braking at that point. All right, we're gonna do 2 more of these runs, and this time I'm just gonna go without using a lot of brake. You know, you might wanna just not use as much rear brake and more counterweighting. So a little bit more counterweighting. And I'm gonna go ahead and stop. So, kind of stay upright. Now on this part, you can kind of just go for it. But right here, I'm using my rear brake, staying more upright. And I'm gonna utilize all this space with this rear brake. So head and eye movement, turn. Slowing it down. And then we're gonna make it through. And I can accelerate just a little bit, but I want to stop and practice my progressive braking. So that is the righty-tighty. I absolutely challenge you to find a parking lot today that is something like this. You only need 40 by 60, maybe a little extra room so you have this runoff where I'm sitting right here, but you need 10 cones and then the Smart Rider drill booklet. But you can follow along here, utilize whatever cones you want, and just kind of repeat what I'm doing here on the videos. But I challenge you to find a parking lot today. Drive around, ride around, whatever it is, find a parking lot, and then maybe start doing some of these drills. Okay, I'll see you guys soon.
What are the 4 steps to riding a motorcycle? All right, so first and foremost, prepare yourself. Okay, let's say you already got a motorcycle. We just talked about how should a beginner ride a motorcycle. So now we're like, okay, we got all that. How should we do it? Prepare yourself. So start walking up, start thinking, I'm about to go for a ride. You know, you have your helmet in this hand, you have jacket in this hand, but you got your pants and boots already, your gloves on the glove holder. So prepare yourself, kind of get in that mindset, hey, I'm about to embark on a journey on a 2-wheeled machine that is pretty powerful, that has the opportunity to kill me. I need to assess the risks I'm getting into. What's the weather like? How am I? Did I just take too much of a Red Bull with nothing in my system, so now I'm like amped up? Or am I super exhausted and dehydrated from drinking last night? You know, you start thinking about all that stuff, and a lot of those things you can't really control other than, you know, drinking. But if you're dehydrated, just go ahead and drink some water real quick, okay? So there's that. So prepare yourself, be understanding of what's happening. We always did that before going into a fire. We always checked our buddies, make sure that their hood was, you know, properly seated so they didn't have, you know, exposed skin. We checked their gear, make sure all the buttons and clasps were done, make sure they had their radio. Like we double checked each other before going in, and after a while it is just like a quick visual. You know exactly what you're looking for. It's almost nothing, and then you get into that mindset, we're good to go, we're gonna go. And that's what's gonna happen when you get on a motorcycle. It's very important. So thank you, Dan, for getting a booklet. Appreciate it, appreciate it. So prepare yourself. Prepare the motorcycles next. So you wanna prepare the motorcycle. So what you're doing when it comes to preparing is that you're checking the tires. You know, you're walking up to the motorcycle, you check the sidewalls, check the PSI with your gauge, making sure there's no nails in the tires. So you don't want to just take off and be like, hey, there's a nail. You could easily blow out a tire. You also want to check, see if there's any fluids like on the ground underneath your motorcycle. That's a bad thing. Check your forks, see if there's any fluids leaking out of it, because now you probably have a fork leak, which is going to have a huge effect on your steering. And then also how it's going to handle in a turn, and just a bunch of different stuff. So be very careful with that. You might need to check your mirrors. So like when you sit on the motorcycle, check your mirrors, see if they're in the right place, because sometimes people bump into them, especially if you park in an apartment complex, they'll just kind of bump into it, or if you have a cover on it, everything. So check your mirrors, do all that stuff. So next thing, you got to start the motorcycle. This is kind of difficult, you know, 4 steps to riding a motorcycle. There's a lot more steps than that. So start the motorcycle. So you turn it on. You don't even have to be sitting on it right now. Just turn it on, see how it feels, or see how it goes. Maybe the battery's dead, you know? Maybe the battery's dead. You want to take a quick look and see what the fuel looks like, you know, how much fuel you have. So that's going to indicate, oh shoot, we got to go to the gas station real quick. So you might want to do that. And if you have a carbureted, you know, motorcycle and it's not wanting to turn on, you might have to be adjusting the choke and kind of going through that. So if you have fuel injected, you don't really have to worry about that. All right, the next thing is riding the motorcycle. Jeffrey, thank you for getting a booklet and cones. So you actually have to ride the motorcycle. So this is where you absolutely make sure that your gear is set. You want to make sure your helmet is clasped. It's actually retention, the D-ring or whatever, the ratchet system you have. Make sure it's actually there. Do you have your earplugs? Okay, make sure you have your earplugs. So double check everything. Make sure your Cardopac talk is actually functioning. It's on, so you can listen to your GPS system. So there's a lot of things like that. Also, just be mindful of traffic. We talk about the plan ride or the plan method all the time. Be aware, be in yellow stage. So hopefully by this point, you've already did the preparation for yourself, got yourself in the mindset, so you know you're already in yellow stage, and that's really where it starts. So yeah, those are the 4 steps to riding a motorcycle for the most part. I mean, there's a whole bunch more. There's a whole bunch more. That's just to get it going. That's kind of the down and dirty generalized version of it.